In early 69 AD, as the Roman Empire teetered on the brink of unprecedented upheaval, Otho, the seventh emperor, audaciously ordered the assassination of his predecessor, Galba. Supported by the powerful Praetorian Guard, he seized the imperial throne that January. Yet, even then, the Eternal City remained oblivious to the full extent of the impending catastrophe. Simultaneously, like an relentless tide, legions commanded by Vitellius were already advancing south from the Rhine frontier towards Rome. Initially, these troops harbored the naive hope that their march would cease with Galba's downfall, as all their grievances were directed at the previous emperor. However, this inherited problem proved far more resilient and did not dissipate with Galba's demise. Otho, finding himself at the epicenter of this raging storm, soon realized with dread that full-scale civil war was now inevitable. He entered history as the second emperor in the so-called Year of the Four Emperors, a period of unparalleled instability and bloodshed, and perhaps his reign is most vividly remembered for its dramatic and unexpected conclusion. Otho's life began on April 28, 32 AD, in the small town of Ferentinum, located north of Rome. His father received a special honor when Emperor Claudius personally elevated him to the patrician class, a significant step for the family. However, Otho himself came from rather modest origins, and much of his early success and career advancement was owed to his close connection with the then Emperor Nero. This relationship flourished until Nero, consumed by a sudden passion, effectively sent Otho into exile. The reason was the emperor's ardent affection for Otho's wife, Poppaea, a woman of extraordinary beauty and ambition, whom he subsequently married after her husband's banishment, forever altering Otho's fate. Nevertheless, this displacement, contrary to initial appearances, turned out to be a peculiar form of career advancement for him. In 58 AD, Otho was sent to govern the distant province of Lusitania, situated in the western Iberian Peninsula. In this role, he demonstrated outstanding administrative competence and, remarkably for that era, a complete lack of desire for personal enrichment at the expense of the lands and inhabitants entrusted to him. When Emperor Nero tragically ended his life by suicide in June 68 AD, Otho immediately declared his support for Galba, who was then governor of neighboring Hispania Tarraconensis. Otho not only joined him but also played a crucial role in instigating Galba's revolt, subsequently accompanying him on his triumphant journey to Rome. However, Galba's subsequent reign, unfortunately, failed to meet the widespread expectations placed upon him. Otho, in particular, experienced deep disappointment when Galba did not name him as his heir, contrary to Otho's own ambitions and contributions. As a result, Otho promptly organized a secret conspiracy against Galba among the Praetorian Guard. That very evening, the powerless and subservient Senate, stripped of all real authority, was compelled to proclaim Otho the new emperor of the Roman Empire. Upon ascending the throne, Otho generously rewarded the officials and soldiers whose support had been crucial in Galba's overthrow. He also ordered the restoration of statues of Nero and Poppaea, a symbolic gesture. Notably, the populace, seeing some resemblance to the late Nero in Otho, even bestowed upon the new emperor the cognomen Nero, and this moniker, strangely enough, was not exclusively pejorative. However, no sooner had he secured the imperial throne than Otho fully grasped the gravity of the burgeoning revolt in Germania. Vitellius, the leader of the rebellious legions, was already preparing to invade the Apennine Peninsula. Otho, having hoped that Vitellius's rebellion would cease after Galba's demise, failed to fully comprehend that Vitellius was essentially just a nominal figure in this uprising. The true leadership and driving force belonged to the commanders of the Rhine legions, Aulus Caecina Aelianus and Fabius Valens. On March 14, Otho embarked on his northern campaign, aiming to block Vitellius's forces and prevent them from crossing into Italy. However, the winter had been unusually mild, and the Alpine mountain passes were already open. Caecina's forces had by then already crossed the Alps via the Great St. Bernard Pass and launched an assault on Placentia. Nevertheless, this attack was successfully repelled by the garrison loyal to Otho, forcing Caecina to retreat to Cremona to await the arrival of the main body of his army. Having failed to halt Vitellius's advance into Italy, Otho established his base in Brixellum. He commanded a force of approximately 9,000 men, which included gladiators, Praetorians, and several understrength legions. The emperor even decided to convert a marine corps into a full legion. Otho was awaiting reinforcements from the Danubian legions, which were already on their way to assist him. It should be noted that Otho was well informed. One of the most capable officers on his staff was Suetonius Paulinus, the former governor of Britain, who had once suppressed Boudicca's revolt. Vitellius's military formations comprised 2 veteran legions, supplemented by several contingents from other units stationed on the Rhine frontier, as well as a significant number of auxiliary Germanic cohorts. The total strength of these forces reached approximately 7,000 men. Meanwhile, Caecina organized an ambush at Lacus Castorum, a small settlement located roughly halfway between Bedriacum and Cremona, along the strategic Via Postumia. However, Otho's supporters received a timely warning about the impending trap, and forces under the command of Suetonius Paulinus immediately advanced towards Lacus Castorum. In the ensuing clash, Otho's forces gained the upper hand, compelling Caecina to retreat once more to Cremona, where he intended to await Valens's arrival. Valens, for his part, had chosen a longer route through the Alpine mountain passes. Otho, nevertheless, made the decision to transfer command of his forces to his brother, Titianus. Titianus, contrary to the wise counsel of Suetonius Paulinus, who insisted on the necessity of awaiting the arrival of the Danubian legions, expected within a few days, resolved to advance on Bedriacum and force an engagement with the enemy. Otho himself remained in Brixellum to await the outcome of the impending battle. There was also a presumption that Otho's forces sought an immediate confrontation because prolonging the campaign could lead to undesirable fraternization between the opposing sides, which always presented a serious risk in a civil war. The fateful battle took place on April 14, when the opposing armies converged on the Via Postumia. Hostilities commenced with a successful attack by Otho's troops, who managed to repel the Vitellian cavalry. During the battle, one of those strange and unexpected misunderstandings occurred that could sometimes influence, if not entirely decide, the outcome of major engagements. A false rumor spread among Otho's legions that the enemy had surrendered. Mistakenly, they began to greet the enemy lines with friendly